All right, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Nota is back in the news because he said some more outlandish stuff. He's trying to go around, I get the feeling that he's trying to go around and claim that he's not a racist, that he's not this horrible person, free speech, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, I got to show you what he just said, and then you got to be the judge if what he said was right, wrong, within the parameters of free speech. I don't know. Let's get into it.
Listen properly.
When you get into a taxi, you sit down before you get in.
Did I hear that correctly? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Newsflash. I'm your host, Joe Emilio. Thanks for tuning in.
White people came here. They need to assimilate to our culture, not the other way around. It's bad enough we speak their language with a proficiency that they cannot even master.
What I feel like Nota intentionally says this stuff, right? Because that's like a very backhanded comment. Like he's trying to say like, oh, black people speak English better than the white people can, or British people can, or whatever. Which, I mean, yeah, sure. Definitely there are some well-spoken black people, but there's also some well-spoken colored people, Indian people, I feel it's quite a racist thing to say that if you speak a language well, then you are somehow superior than the other. And this is what he's implying, right? He's saying like, well, we speak English better than they do. Anyway, that's not the horrible thing that he says in this clip. It's coming. Watch this.
But they still need to assimilate to our culture. They need to assimilate to Ubuntu. That's the only way in which we can coexist within this environment. Otherwise, we will slaughter all of them. Drive.
Do you hear that? Yeah. Let's just play it again.
Environment. Otherwise, we will slaughter all of them. Drive them to the sea. Literally.
Slaughter all of them. Drive them into the sea. Now he does try to quickly backtrack. I think because his little brain realized, what he had just said. So let's let the rest of this play. Let's just see how this unfolds.
It might not be me. It might not be me calling for it.
I'm not a part of that thing. I'm just allowing him to talk.
No, I'm just saying. It might not be me. It might not be me calling for that. In fact, if white people are being driven to the sea, I'm least likely to be in the front lines driving them to the sea.
Liar. I can tell you right now, Nota, that nobody believes you. And you probably would be at least in the second line or third line. You might not be in the first line, but you might be somewhere there. I'm sure you would happily jump onto that bandwagon if that started to happen.
Right? Because of my disposition. But
what is your disposition?
As in, I'm a privileged black person in this country.
So why would you want to drive white people to the sea if you're just as privileged as they are?
The majority of black people, right, have been oppressed by white people and the white system. And if at any point they decide that they want to drive people to the sea, I will not discourage them.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, but I think the biggest thing is that he first he says he's not going to call for it, right? He's not going to call for the slaughter of white people. Where does that sound familiar?
I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now.
And again, Nota says he's not the one that's going to call for it. So is he referring to Malema, who, is constantly on the stage saying, kill the poor? I don't know. I'm speculating. And he says that he will not be in the line to drive white people to the sea. But at the same time, he won't discourage it. Well, then you might as well be in the line. That's like seeing a murder happening and not doing anything about it makes you an accomplice. Now, some of you might be rolling your eyes and saying, Joe, why do you give this guy airtime? Why do you give him more attention? Blah, blah, blah. Listen, I thought about this long and hard before doing this video. And the truth is, we do have to call people like Nota out. We have to call out the dangers of what he's saying. Now, I know some of you free speech absolutists will be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with what he said. Well, luckily, we don't live in a free speech absolutist world. There are ramifications for what you say. And here's an example, because you'll remember in a previous video, he called white people Neanderthals, and he dehumanized white people. And I explained why that's a problem in the previous video. If you want to go watch it, go watch it. And some of you might think that, well, nothing happened. It was harmless. No. The dehumanization can spread. And here is an example. Because not too long ago, the City Press editor-in-chief called AfriForum in solidarity when they went to go see Trump or the Trump administration. He called them Neanderthals. Here's a clip.
Of those Neanderthals in AfriForum and in solidarity. Of those Neanderthals in in every forum and in solitary data.
So now you have people in mainstream media calling other white people Neanderthals, dehumanizing a race. And this is very dangerous territory. So yes, on the one hand, Nota, who is a failed rapper, might be just trying to ruffle some feathers and get some likes and some shares and some, I don't know, views on social media. But there's no doubt that what one person can say can definitely influence another. Now, can Nota go to court for what he just said? Probably not. I don't think it will hold up in court, especially in the South African courts. I mean, should there be an attempt to take him to court? I think so. I think there should be. But maybe not for this conversation, but at least for the last conversation. But again, I've updated you guys. In the last conversation, the Human Rights Commission said that they're going to take him to court and they want him to apologize. They want him to, I don't know, pay a fine of some sort or whatever. It's a slap on the wrist, right? But apparently, if a white guy makes a video trying to make an example and show why calling for the killing of Boers is dangerous, and that individual uses foul language or the K word, well, immediately, apparently, that's just super unacceptable. And that individual is shamed across the country, loses his job, and at the same time, the Human Rights Commission is vehemently fighting against him and taking him to court. Regardless of where you sit on freedom of speech, and don't get me wrong, I definitely advocate for freedom of speech, but I do think there needs to be some limitations. Regardless of where you sit on that, though, you gotta admit there's a hell of a double standard. Because now this is the second time that Nota is allowed to say very horrible things about a certain race in South Africa, and almost nothing gets done to him. And as I just showed you, some of the things he says does get repeated. So you gotta wonder, the idea of driving white people to the sea, is that gonna catch on? And if it does, do we point the finger at Nota? You be the judge, you let me know in the comment section below, ladies and gentlemen. And while you're there, also don't forget to leave a like on this video, share it far and wide, and also consider becoming a member to this channel. It really goes a long way to supporting me and this channel and helping me to produce content for you guys. And if you can't become a member, that's okay. Please consider giving a super thanks or sasa thanks, as we call them on this channel. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Your Newsflash is in.
Why don't you do the dishes like I asked?
Haven't you heard? It's illegal for men to participate in women's sports.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.